Hey there, everybody. My name's Pete Pavelik, and I'm the pastor of Cowboy Fellowship, which is down south of San Antonio in a town called Pleasanton, between Pleasanton, Jordan, and Poteet, Atascosa County. If you're familiar with South Texas, you may know the area. Anyway, Charles asked me to do a quick video for you guys and just to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about Cowboy Church, hopefully to give you a better idea of what you've been talking about all week, maybe from the field and maybe just a little bit different perspective. So let me start off by giving you a little bit of my testimony. I got a phone call when I was 21 years old from a man I barely knew, but he was from my hometown here in Pleasanton, and he asked me if I would devote 3 months to come help him and a group of other men start a cowboy church here in Pleasanton. Now, this was back in 2003. And there weren't very many cowboy churches around. Not a lot of people had a great deal of success doing cowboy church. I didn't know much about cowboy church, although I'd been raised on a ranch down here. The idea intrigued me, and I prayed about it, and God said, yeah, go and help these people. So we launched in May of 2003. There were 12 families in this core group that I joined. And in May of 2003, we started our first service. We had 172 people. It was a great launch. We were excited. Quite honestly, I didn't expect that maybe half of them would show back up for the next week. We were meeting in an unair-conditioned barn, a show barn, and summer was coming on. It was already getting hot down here in South Texas, and I just didn't know if anybody was going to come back. But I think the next week we had 185, and I thought, wow, well, maybe that's 2 weeks in a row. We suckered them into it twice, and didn't have much hope for the next week. But the next week we had a few more and a few more, and by the end of that summer, and granted we went through the whole summer in that show barn with no air condition, and by the end of the summer we were running close to 300 people, and God was blessing it. People were getting saved and baptizing people almost every week in those horse troughs in the early days in the back of that barn, and God was just doing an incredible thing, and I was having the time of my life, and the church was growing, and that core team was foolish enough to ask me to stay on full time. And so from there, from 2003 till today, we're not in the show barn anymore. We're here in my office. We've got a nice air-conditioned building, a big barn, and it's got air conditioning in it, just a metal building though. We run somewhere between 800 and 1,000 here on the main campus each week. We also have a satellite campus out in Lavernia that runs anywhere from 80 to 120, 150. They've been meeting for about a year and a half, kind of developing a model for cowboy churches to do the satellite model, and God just has continued to bless it. In fact, this morning, this is Sunday, I'm recording this morning we baptized 11 people, and 7 of those were adults, and 4 of the 7 adults were men. So it's just incredible to see what God continues to do, and even all these years into it from 2003, that God just continues to change the hearts of people. So the Cowboy Church movement is definitely an incredible movement to be a part of. I've been so blessed to be a part of it. I got in fairly early. We were, like I said, one of the first few churches, probably within the first dozen, maybe the first half dozen cowboy churches that were planted by the BGCT, at least in this effort to really expand the kingdom through Western Heritage Ministry. And I've just been so blessed to be a part of it from those early stages. A couple of pearls of wisdom, I guess, for you. If you're thinking about getting into cowboy church, make sure it fits. Make sure it's you. Any ministry you're going into, if it's not you, you're probably not going to have much fun in it. Before this, I was doing college ministry, and I love that to death because I just graduated from college, and I loved working with college students, and that fit me really well too. And if ministry fits, it works. During part of my college ministry as an assistant BSM director, though, I was given the task of going to a nursing home and leading a group of college students every week to a nursing home. And that didn't fit real well. I mean, I enjoyed ministering to those men and women, and I have nothing against people who have a heart for that, but it just didn't fit as well for me. So find something that fits you. Cowboy Church, for me, fits like a glove. I grew up on a ranch. When God called me into the ministry in 1998, I had a horse tied off over to my right. I was laying on my back down by a river here on our ranch, And when God called me into ministry, I said, there's something wrong. I must have heard you wrong, because there's no way I can spend my entire life in a suit and tie and penny loafers in the churches that I'd grown up in and the churches that I'd known growing up. Just, it didn't make any sense to me. Again, this was long before the cowboy church movement was really going. I'd never heard of anything about a cowboy church in '98. So, cowboy church fits me well. It's my background. It's where I come from. And it makes it fun to just work with people that have that same background. So if that's you, if you have a passion for those people, and you want to reach people in the Western Heritage, and it feels like a good fit, and God's calling you to it, then run hard after it, and go get it done. Another thing I'd tell you, if you do cowboy ministry, and really if you do any ministry, most of these things will cross over, but I found in doing ministry, best thing to do is just keep things simple. I think Charles told me you guys were going to be doing Simple Church as one of your textbooks. And so y'all have probably been talking a lot about keeping things simple. I've got Simple Church right over here on my bookshelf here in my office. And I read that book probably, if not once a year, once every 18 months or so, just to keep telling myself, keep it simple, keep it simple. People need the basics. I went to seminary. I studied Greek for almost 3 years. I studied Hebrew for a year and a half. And I tell you, whenever I start talking to people about Greek and Hebrew, man, it's just foreign to them. They just shut me off. Just keep it simple. And make things practical. Make things apply to people's lives. Show people how the Word of God intersects with what they're doing. Jesus told us to go and make disciples. And we don't make disciples by teaching people Greek and Hebrew. We make disciples by teaching people about how life intersects with the Bible and with the text that they're already a part of. So keep things simple, keep things basic, speak the plain truth to them, speak the whole truth to them, and let God do the rest of it. Just let Him work on it. One of the things, the 3 words that I kind of live by in ministry is connecting, growing, and serving. The 3 things that I really want to do. I want to help connect people to each other, because I don't think you can do life alone. I don't think God designed it that way. When we look at nature, when you look at grass, or when you look at the cattle or the horses, even when you get down on a microscopic level and look at cells, nothing grows in isolation. Nothing grows by itself. Nothing can be successful in God's creation by itself. Everything needs something else to help it. And I believe one of the things that the church needs and Christians need is they need each other. So I want to help people connect to each other. You can do that through small groups, through Bible studies, through fellowships, but people have to connect to each other. They also have to connect with God. They need to know how to pray. They need to read their Bibles. They need to know what a quiet time is. And I want people to connect with God. And I want them to grow. And they're going to grow if they're connecting with God and with other people. But I also want to provide opportunities as a pastor to equip them for the work that God has desired and planned for them to do in their life. I believe God has a plan and a purpose for people. And part of my job as a minister is to help equip those people to be ready whenever that purpose is revealed. And so I want to help people grow. We do that through discipleship programs and growth groups and things here at our church at Cowboy Fellowship. And then I want people to serve, not because I need their help, not because God needs their help, but because you grow and you connect when you serve. And because if people are out there serving together, they get close, they bond, and they grow spiritually. And so I just believe that that's one of the things God wants us to do. Some people in our church are the kind of people who are up here every single day. They're up here anytime the doors are open. They're always serving. And then other people take out one bag of trash on their way to their vehicle on Sunday, and that's their service. Other people lead Bible studies in the places that they work, or they do other things even outside of our church campus, and that's their service. But I want people to be serving God in some way. It helps hold them accountable. If they're serving God, they're more likely to do the things that God's calling them to do. And so service is just a big part of it. So everything I'm trying to do is get people to connect, to grow, to serve, keep things basic, keep things simple, and just stay focused on what Jesus has called us to do and to make disciples. If you will make disciples out of the people who are inside of your ministry, they'll go out and win people to the Lord. I told you at the beginning that we baptized 11 today. Several of those in that group weren't won to the Lord through my sermons or my messages or even here at our church. They were won to the Lord in the backyard of a friend or a neighbor. One of them was won to the Lord at the place that he worked whenever one of our members ministered to him and shared the gospel. Another was won to the Lord out in an arena on a private residence. Another was won to the Lord at a dove hunt a couple of weeks ago from another one of our members. And that's where real growth and multiplication happens in ministry, is when the people inside of your congregation have been equipped and understand the basics of the gospel, and they go out and live it out in their daily lives, and they lead people to the Lord, and in turn bring them back in, and then you help build them up and train them and equip them to go out and do the same thing. So it's an exciting thing, man. I couldn't be more thrilled with what I'm doing. If God calls you to do it, great. If I can help you, let me know. Charles can give you my numbers. You can get a hold of Charles or whatever. I'll be glad to talk to you and pray with you. In fact, I talked to Charles. He may have already told you the story, but I talked to Charles before he got into cowboy ministry, and I love helping people that have a heart to reach people with the gospel. If you're going to go on and do some other kind of ministry and I can be of help to you, I would love to do that as well. So may God bless you guys. Pick up all you can, and just keep things simple. Help people connect, grow, and serve God. And you're going to do great in whatever it is God has called you to. He has a plan and a purpose for your life. And being in this class hopefully will help define what that plan and purpose is a little bit. And whether or not that's Cowboy Church is between you and the good Lord. So I'm excited for you, and I hope to maybe meet some of you one day. But if not, we'll see you in heaven. And may God bless you and all that you do for Him. Be blessed.